and welcome.
Okay,
This is the well, it's always quicker than I think. It's because okay,
I didn't think that that's what that would do, but it did.
oh, hello. We've got the reaction cam with Murph over
It's
there.
me, your boy.
Oh
All
no,
up
I
in
don't like that. I think it's too close.
God, I look like I weigh a decent size until I smile, and then I look like I was fat for 15 years. Like, I get all the cheek.
You're jolly, Murph. You're jolly. You're like you could
I'll
be.
make a great mall Santa.
You could be Sandy Claus. I think it'd be fine. Anyway, hello and welcome to the podcast that we do sometimes weekly. My name.
It's yeah.
We've been pretty regular.
Sometimes
it's just like
consistent. Sometimes it looks consistent, and sometimes it's what we're doing.
yeah.
Uh,
Welcome to What's in the Dungeon podcast. This is Murph. I am not Murph. Decidedly.
he is the opposite.
Murph has broken with tradition, 11 episode tradition of having a cave, but we've decided that where he is streaming from counts as a cave, so it's like fine.
I mean, it's alone, and it would be dark if I didn't put lights in it.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's fine. I think this
There is
falls.
a genuine reason, though.
Did your green screen break?
No, it's right here. You can see it in the background. I did a revamp, like top to bottom
Oh.
of my Twitch.
Ooh.
And because I was doing that, I had to change Streamlabs settings, so I just
Ooh.
haven't been able to set back
A
up.
total revamp. Is this like a rebranding? Are you still Mr. Up?
I'm still Mr. Up Here. Yeah,
Okay.
I had a mascot for a while, and she was fairly heavily like involved in the channel. Like she was behind me and like would say things and do stuff, and I just scrapped the shit out of all.
What
that.
is a like you had someone like a like
No, I had like a channel mascot that I
don't know what
created.
it is. I don't know what that means. Like a bot?
No, like a legitimate okay. If you think about like a brand mascot.
Okay, yes,
so,
like
Tony the Tiger.
Tony the Tiger.
I had a brand mascot.
You had Tony the Tiger?
I
Oh my
wish.
god, no wonder you had to scrap. You can't afford his fees.
No, God, can you imagine too? And the fucking litter box was massive. No, I just had this little anime girl that I created. That was
okay.
a pun and all
A
this
waifu.
stuff. It's just like I did. I'll be honest, it was bandwagoning. I've got a lot of friends that like changed to be like VTubers and stuff, and I was like, it'd be cool to have like a character that like.
What is a VTuber?
Behind people who use a visual avatar instead of a cam.
Oh yeah, someone was explaining this to me and I was like, so there's just like a YouTube video, except they stream, except they don't show their face, except they do, except it's
avatar.
it's like a thing, and it like tracks their facial, like their
Yeah,
eyes
not
and their
always
mouth.
well, but like genuinely right now,
Yeah.
there's one on, and I'm not trying to summon the wrath of the VTubers because
Well,
a
Murph,
couple of them I watch.
from
but
who I've seen, I don't think they can put up much of a fight.
no, there's so
They're all
there's
just little animated ladies or men.
the most watched streamer and the highest paid streamer right now on Twitch is a
Critical
VTuber.
Role.
It's a girl named Iron Mouse.
Oh, okay.
She is the most popular streamer. I mean, she makes.
I don't think I think Critical Role has been like the top paid for a while now.
I know
on Twitch.
sponsored they are, but she has like more subs than you.
I
can
don't
just
know.
Fucking shake a stick
That
at.
sounds slightly sexual when you say it like that.
Yeah, but either way, so I jumped
Mm-hmm.
on kind of a bandwagon. I didn't want to not use my face because
You have a good face, Murph. You've got a very good
Thanks, man.
face.
It's the personality. It's not the face.
It is also the face. It's both.
But I had this character, so I was like, you know what? I've probably spent close to $1,000 on like custom art, and I hired a voice actress to do the character lines.
Okay.
And all this crazy shit. And it never quite settled the way I wanted it to.
Yeah.
You know?
It was one of those things
Never
you started and then it was kind of like, I feel that.
It felt good at the time, but like it
Mm-hmm.
was so jarringly different than what I was normally doing. Like I genuinely had people say like, "Hey man, this is great," but like, go back to the other thing.
Yeah, what is
You
this?
know what I'm
What is
saying?
this? Is cool,
Yeah.
but maybe it's like a
Yeah.
one-off.
Yeah, and it's not for me. Like I can't keep it up because like in order to keep it fresh and entertaining, you got to keep spending money on it, keep getting it, and like
It's a
I'd rather
lot.
just go back to what I'm doing. So that's the deal. So I'm back to my old ways, my old shenanigans. So that's the reason that this is all fucked in the background.
Because you're rebranding,
yeah. Well, I'm sort of
reinvigorating your brand. You're not
Same name,
rebranding.
Just I'm going back to my roots. And I'm not gonna
Same
continue to try
bat
to-
time, same bat channel. It's Murph. It's the good old Murph. You're gonna build back better.
Yeah,
as
I'm
Murph.
gonna come back as Southern Boy Murph.
No, let's not do that. I don't like
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
I don't think you need a gimmick Murph. I think the gimmick is just Murph, and that's
The
enough.
gimmick is I'm a joke.
Well, I mean, that's okay though. Some people are into that. My brain is gonna slowly ooze out of my ears for the next hour, so I apologize to anyone who watches me just lose track of what I was gonna say. I texted Troy. I was like, I'm really tired, and he was like, well, you've been up since 3 a.m. And I was like, yeah, yeah, you're right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Wow.
I guess that makes sense as to why I'm tired. But why didn't we do Wednesday? Yeah, because you've got big life stuff happening, so that's cool.
Yeah, we're looking at wedding venues.
Yeah, that
had
was
to go over there,
exciting.
Went to Newport News and looked at some shit.
And your wedding, of course, is going to be held in a cave. Is what I'm hearing. It's the reports.
With the magic of photography, anything can be in a
That's
cave.
true. That's true. Murph is getting married to a very lovely person at some point in history.
High praise. That's high praise.
Yes.
No, it's great. She still hasn't died yet in Betrayal, and it kind of.
Oh, you know, Murph, you paused a second too long there between explaining that she hadn't died yet and then explaining that you were
hasn't
talking
died.
about a board game.
Also
You
about a
said
board game.
you said she hasn't died yet in Betrayal. I was like, oh.
Yeah. So let's.
Yeah,
no
she's
guess,
she's
gonna be
like
great.
300 and something in our game of
It's fucking
Betrayal
ridiculous
Legacy.
How old she is now?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's-
I honestly,
It's a ridiculous amount. Of
I you know what? Even like as we were playing the last couple games, I had Amazing Grace on bagpipes queued up for when she eventually died. I was just gonna.
Wait, please tell me you're not fucking around with that.
No, I'm not.
Absolutely.
I literally had that. Like I opened it, put it on my home screen, and then locked it. And I was like, okay, whenever she dies, I'm just gonna play the do 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 do
That
do.
is fantastic.
But she didn't die for like 3 rounds. I was like, Jesus fucking
Oh,
Christ.
She didn't die.
So that was a fun
3 or 4
time.
games in, and she's still fucking going.
Yeah. So we over the last weekend we had the opportunity to start our in-person D&D sessions. We didn't start with D&D though. We explained this a little bit last week, where we're starting with some collaborative world building. And that was what we ended up doing for about 4 hours on Sunday. We got through probably about a quarter to a third of what I'd like to do. I think it went pretty well. It was an interesting experience. We spent probably about an hour on the topography of the region, and Murph, I zoned out for like the last 45 minutes. I remember zoning back in and y'all talking about like, I was like, hey, okay, it's rocky. We got some mountains. Okay, we're good. Great. We spent an hour on this.
You got a guy that's dedicated to lore.
Yeah.
A guy that's
We've
genuinely
got our friend Josh, who is like, he wants to like have like all the story, like all the stuff going. We've got Troy,
dedicated.
who is like
a fucking cartographer.
he wanted to draw everything. It was
he's
great.
doing the
And then we got Murph.
of old.
Murph, who it felt like intentionally was just like asking questions to make it longer. He was like, well, let me ask you. I'm like, Murph, stop talking. Leave them alone.
Alright, I'd like to ask some questions because like my whole goal going into this was like I didn't know what
I was like, keep it as vague as possible. And Murph's like, so what kind of mineral posits are in the soil in this region? I need to know what color the flowers are based on the pH of the soil.
My bad.
And I'm like, oh my God. It was good. It was good. It was, I honestly, Troy was asking me how I thought it went. And I told him I had zero expectations because I was like, I don't know. We're just going to kind of throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. And it went well. I think once we sort of got the hang of understanding that you don't need to be super specific, it kind of started picking up a pace.
We started going off on random tangents.
That's
It was
okay.
like-
That's like what the I think that part there's a few parts to it, and part one was I think a couple times we forgot it was to have fun, and it was like, okay, it's okay if we go on tangents. It's literally a game we're making up as we go along, so there's not really like a rule. Part two was understanding that like it's okay to start something and not know where it's going. I feel like a lot of
a lot of like
well, I feel like a
we
couple
didn't have
times
government for like 95%.
Yeah, but that was fine, and I feel like a lot of maybe towards the middle to end, it felt like everyone was trying to like pursue a quest chain as opposed to operate as a societal force. So like we explained this a little bit last time, but the point of the quiet year is you take on the role of like a society's zeitgeist, like the cultural milieu that generates
consciousness of
basically that generates progress in a society. Like, okay, what projects are you going to do? What things have you found? What discussions are you going to have? And so like you can't inhabit one person. You more or less inhabit an intangible force of movement. And
your specific role was to throw something out as the Council of Stone, and then when we would ask you a question about it, immediately become the village naysayer.
Well, that was what I was trying to push people in a certain direction, because like it felt like when you have a community forum, it's never just the president of the board and the council members. There's always, Joe Smith, who lives around the block, who tends to his radishes, and then there's Mary, Queen of Scots, who lives in a tower and is quite insane. There's always weird characters who show up at these discussions, and it seemed like when we had discussions, they had this super serious, you have to have like a thing to, like, you were asking like really good questions, and Josh and Troy were like, I am part of this, and I was like, okay, well, I'm just some random guy that showed up.
I'm an ex-member of the clergy, and everything that you're doing.
Yeah, none of this matters. We're all gonna die. I was like, and I felt like because that's there's one mechanic of this game where you have an action called start a discussion, and you get to actually portray someone from society trying to initiate a discussion in the community, and they're messy. They don't really answer any questions, and that's kind of the point, because like when you have community discussions in real life, some things might come out of it, but usually it's kind of just a bunch of people trying to talk over each other, and you get like a general direction of where things are headed, but it doesn't like solve the hunger crisis.
Just wrap it up in a bow and move on.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, do you think this is a game that would have been better played with more people?
No, oh God, Murph.
Well, I mean, again, but
I think the amount
community, smaller groups, I feel like get too hyper focused.
I don't know.
Like, for instance, we didn't really start pulling the skulls until much later in the game.
We'll see, Murph.
Because we were all relatively agreeable. But if you got 8 people, that's 8 different points of views coming from different directions.
I think that it's just going to be a different game. Like, it's going to take a little bit longer. You're probably going to have a much more varied map. I think with it's like having a smaller or bigger D&D group. There's going to be advantages and disadvantages. You're going to spend a lot more time probably discussing things than you would in a group of 3 or 4. You're going to spend a lot less time worrying about getting things done, because you're not going to have as much time, right? So I think, and also, like you say, we got pretty far. We got only a quarter of the way through in 4 hours.
I mean,
we only did one season. Yeah.
Some change. I also get very specific on stuff. Like, I don't know. Like, I was trying to be consciously aware of specific things, because again, there was like a lot of like my genuine problem was I was trying to build off of what other people were saying.
Mm-hmm.
So like with the whole, this guy claimed to be a god and it turned out he wasn't a god. That thing was strictly just bullshit to progress something interesting.
Yeah, and I like that. I think that was a good departure, because I think that, like, I was talking with Troy about this over the week, and I was like, it felt like towards the end especially, everyone was trying to like complete a quest chain. Like, okay, Troy had his mining facilities he was trying to get done, and he was just gonna keep mining and doing some stuff. Josh had his cloud machine he was trying to like finish up. Yeah, like, and like all that. You had your quest chain of like the government and the watch and stuff, and situating stuff there. And it felt like there's nothing wrong with that, but I was like, I would like to see more variance, because I feel like the point of our role in this game is not to complete a quest chain, and that's what I was like. It feels like,
beginning of it, my whole thing was just water.
Yeah, exactly. And so like these are fine things. Like there is certain things you have to have as a community. And at the beginning, I almost like listed a list of goals, but I kind of wanted to leave it open ended, and we kind of got there. Like we finished up some projects for shelter. We got some water finally. We now have like a very
limited amount
of government. Like, you know, we've built up these things as a society, and I think
I
that
was successfully able to get people not pissed off at me because of the Inquisition, and that's all that matters.
well, I don't know. I didn't return my contempt token. I still took
got
one.
Josh to put one of his.
Yeah,
but
that's just
was
because you
why
used
I
his
wanted
council
to-
stone. He was like, "Ooh, okay, I can
Well,
vibe
again,
with this."
That's the thing, though, is it's like I'm not trying to make a dictatorship, but like that's the thing I was talking about. Is like it became very collaborative because, like, when the Inquisition's thing ended,
Mhm.
and it was like, okay, what did they discover? I was trying to play into what Troy's thing was going on with the chick that
Mhm.
was trying to be queen,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, this would be a clever way to kind of make something I bullshitted make
Oh.
sense in the grand scheme of. Oh, something happened.
No, I clicked on my image by accident and I blew myself up.
Fuck you, Murph. No, I'm joking.
Yeah, this is the John show now,
The
bitch.
John show. God. But fuck it. No, I was just like I was trying to tie things in, and again, that's the question I constantly was trying to ask is like,
Mhm.
what is too much thinking about it? Like, that's our job is not to drive a narrative.
No,
Like, I
not
get that.
necessarily.
As the player, our job is to we're four hands of one god moving stuff around and making sure that it doesn't crumble over. But like the issue is just like we are so divided mentally about how we're looking
yeah.
at things and like what's considered because we still don't have food.
Yeah.
Like, we got a tree that you can kind of eat,
Mm-hmm.
and we got some water that if you drink it from the river, you die.
Yeah.
But,
Once
like,
it's pulled out of the river, it's fine.
we got a machine that does clouds though.
Yeah, and I think that
I got a government now, so that's
I think
something.
Sunday I've got like a bit of narration to go over, and I think I'm going to specifically remind people that when it feels like everything's kind of going easy right now. It feels like there's not, and as
So
as the seasons progress, decisions will get harder. Like, so I don't want to like say you have to make hard choices now, but like I feel like we need to remember that our role is to create opportunities for something. It's not necessarily to build up or tear down something. It's more just to create opportunities in which a community will change, maybe for the better, hopefully for the better, maybe not. And I think that also there is I don't know if it was necessarily addressed. I'm going to try to do a little bit better of a job of the sense of time so that we kind of know, hey, something is going to happen. We need to be ready for whatever it is, even if we don't know what it is. And I think that might kind of drive home the let's get the important stuff done and then focus on the errata as it comes. But I liked so far. Like, I don't think I took a point of contempt when your Inquisition didn't disband, because I feel like that would be a thing that a good amount of the community would be like, okay, what is this Inquisition doing? And I approached that contempt more from what would the society think? Not, I didn't really care. I was like, okay, you got this Inquisition going, let's watch.
Well,
and I was like, I feel like with this just being done, and then, okay, you accomplished your goal, I feel like a big question from members of the community would be why? We've been, 6 weeks without a government. Why do we need one now? So I feel like, there was that kind of sentimentality. And so I took one more of
because
a...
again, it's not about personal opinion.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with the school, right? Because that was something you presented. And it's the same thing. Thinking from a community idea, when I asked the question,
Yeah.
is this a trade school or is this based off of educational knowledge? And you stated education. The contempt from specific members in my head of the community would be like, well, we don't need them to know how to read and write and do arithmetic. We need people who can maintain the walls and build houses.
Yeah, absolutely.
People to get it. And like, again, because like that's the idea. Like I kept trying to think of like how you would want us to think about things. 'Cause
Yeah.
At the end of the day,
And Murph, you really, when you texted me that thing afterwards, I was like, yes, you do need to stop overthinking. I don't care how you think. You don't apologize. That's the thing. Like, you don't have to apologize either. Think the way you're going to think and play the game how you're going to play the game. I don't have I have key touchstones of narrative that we're gonna get to, and I have like a plan for where things are gonna go in like the meta. But when it comes to like what we do now, like I didn't have a plan for any of this. I didn't want you guys to come up with some type of aqueduct system to pull water out of the river. When I decided to test the river that week, I did not know what the result would be until my project completed. And then I was like, you know what? I feel like it would be too easy if the water was clean. It is clean, but not if you drink it from the river. You have to remove it from the river first. And I still haven't decided if it's just removing it from the river or if it's bringing it into the city walls that like makes it less poisonous. Yeah.
Because like it could be, I mean, like the river could have gotten its name for a specific reason.
Yeah,
It's not
exactly.
just because it's fast, it could be actually because
Yeah.
it's been cursed by something. So
Yeah, who knows? And I think that's the kind of the level of open-endedness that I go for, because I want to set things up, and that's the prescience I've been granted, because I know when this ends, I'm not going to be playing in this world. I'm going to be building off of it and creating something for you guys to play in. So I have this kind of like this guilty conscience of like, do I try and set stuff up that would be interesting for future, or do I just focus on like, because I was struggling in the meantime. I was like, I could set up some really cool lore bits now that they would have to encounter, whenever the campaign takes place. But that doesn't make sense. Like, it wouldn't make sense for me to metagame to that extent and say, okay, in 50 years when their players are inhabiting this world, they need to XYZ. So I'm going to set this up now. I'm going to have this person now. And like Troy's thing was like his prophecy thing. That was really cool. Like right off the bat, he gave me something to work on. And I was like, okay, this prophecy is pretty interesting because it talks about like I think it was his first turn. I think his first turn. It was one of like the first few weeks. His thing was, okay, there's this guy. He has like a vision of this city being built up into magnificent heights of grandeur, and then everyone disappears. And I was like, oh, I like this, because like with visions and stuff, they're very open-ended, they're very generic, and the timeline on them is never certain. So like, this could be happening, like the quieting is what I call it. It could be like a major key point of the campaign that we work in. I was like, okay, this is cool. But then I was like, okay, but I don't need to focus so much on trying to build stuff up for this future campaign. I just need to focus on the tasks at hand, which are, all right, pulling the cards, making sure we've got certain things going on, making sure we're doing other things. I was worried that no one would want to do discussions because they generally don't help. It's
like losing an action,
and that's what it feels like, and I don't want people to feel like that. And so the struggle is like, okay, how do we make them valuable? And I think that we played them pretty well. Like we use them as ways to kind of garner an idea of what we should do with our actions and what we should do with our turns. But I liked them. I was worried that no one would be having discussions and I would have to do them myself. But then you and Josh both did a couple, and I was like, okay, this is nice. I don't have to worry about that so much.
Well, again, especially because like there's like an assumed amount between all of us. Even in you sitting at the table, I feel like there's like a thing where like when we're talking about something through discussion and through like the choices you make, we all immediately feel a need for something.
Mm-hmm.
So when it was like the city is on fire, how do we stop it? Okay. Without talking about it, we all go, well, we need something to put the fire out.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So without having to discuss it, there is a point of discovery or a point of, action or a plan or a project.
And I think that symbolizes an important need in a community. When there's an important need in a community, generally people will rally around it and push for it really quick. And then they kind of get disorganized and stuff afterwards. Like it's like when something tragic happens, generally there is a quick response time, especially in a smaller community. Like this community, I'm imagining doesn't have more than 1,000 people in it. So pretty like bigger than, because the game, The Quiet Year, says keep it like around 100, because like you're supposed to like have like there's a story to The Quiet Year that like you're supposed to do, and I kind of deleted that out of it and put in my own, so it's kind of different than what you would actually play. And the story in The Quiet Year is very generic, but it's like you've been fighting the jackals for a while. You finally drove them off, and you have a year of preparation and planning to defend yourself, to create a new community, blah blah. And then you play the game, and then when you draw the King of Winter, the card literally only says the Frost Shepherds arrive. The game is over. That's it. And then like at the end, you're supposed to like hypothesize what the Frost Shepherds are, what they symbolize, what they do, like what does it mean. But like that's literally the game. Yeah, there won't be Frost Shepherds. There won't be
the ellipsis of continuing the story. But
yeah, the King of Winter in this game, when it's drawn, will symbolize the thing happening that like everyone was
the great calamity.
Yeah, we don't know necessarily what it is yet, because no one's really done it. There was like a bunch of differing visions about it. But I think that there's key bits, and I think that there's an allure to trying to do big things. And I honestly really take joy in seeing the small things, like when what was it? I should have brought my notebook in here with me so I could like talk about a few of the things. But like set up big things when you can, I guess. But I really liked the little things. Like, what was that example?
Troy finding the Amber Stone for the first time.
Yeah, like that was like he did like a mining survey. He found some Emberstone. That was really cool. I liked his like random amount of forests in the beginning.
In the city.
Yeah, I liked your hot spring thing. Was just kind of like, okay, that's cool. I like that. Like it wasn't like a big plot point. It wasn't like huge. Maybe it will be, but like it was just like something you thought was interesting to have, and that's what I like. I like having like my spike pit in the middle of town. I didn't have a plan for it. I just was like, you know what? It'd be cool to have a pit filled with spikes, like that's like a few yards wide that no one knows what it's for. Who knows? Like, let's do this. It's interesting. I think that I like all lore of all shapes and sizes, but I'm especially interested in the little ones because it's like, okay, this is interesting. Like big stuff is big, right? So like Josh's chapel is huge. Like, okay, what does this have implications for in the religion that was before us? What does this have implications of the people who were here before? Blah blah blah. Like it's a good, catch for like getting people interested in something. Like, okay, this is great. But then like, okay, sometimes the sun randomly catches things on fire. Like that's not super big. But it is interesting.
It's going to be those hot plates.
Yeah, and that was the other thing. I was like, you know what? It was just a random thought I had. I was like, maybe it's not the sun. Maybe it's something in the city. So we've got these random metal plates that are like heat conductors in the city. Yeah, and no one knows what they're for.
Batteries that just kind of But that again could lead to things like, like huge big brain plays later. Because like now we've got superconductive heating plates, and then we've got the cloud machine.
Yeah,
we've got a hot spring. There could be something below us that's like thermoconductive, and that's
potentially
hot spring is like dwarven pipes that were driven in this.
I will say the one thing I was disappointed with was the nomads. I had planned on them being a bigger thing, and then I realized that I don't think I introduced them that well, and I don't think I made it seem like they could be used. Like they showed up, they were like, we're going on our grand exodus. We're doing this. This is what we have. This trader was part of our like forwarding party, and like a few of them ended up staying with you. But I quickly realized I was like, I didn't give them any reason to try and engage. Like Troy used them to get further in the mines. Like he paid them to get like they found out. Oh, he changed the name of Hardstone. What was it? He found that like
so we found Emberstone, which is coal, and then it's Deepstone.
Deepstone. He's changing it to something else because he felt that was too generic. I think he said it was like called Hardlight or something. I don't know.
Wait, that's fine.
But I was like, it's whatever. But I realized that 2 weeks was not really enough.
Was it 2 weeks or was it 1?
It was 2. They left like right after you and before Josh, and I was like, also I don't know if I really set them up as a force or something. Like I don't feel like I really did anything with them. I just introduced them and said they're here.
So that doesn't mean that necessarily, because you said some of them, but there was a lot of nomads. So that doesn't mean like some could be 4 or 150 of them, which could become a group of contention later. So like it's not like they're not still a plausible narrative.
Oh yeah,
it's just like
it was just I don't know.
We see them in mass coming back. That's terrifying because that's not.
It's supposed to only happen every 100 years. But yeah, so I don't know. I've got a few more seasonal events, and I definitely after you guys left, or especially yesterday, I was at the coffee cafe over here, and I was like, you know what, I need to do this better. So I really changed the seasonal events into something more like not like dire or pressing, but something just bigger. Like I had just a couple of random things. I was like, no, I want to make this like actually matter to the story and not just like some people show up. Ooh, because that was literally, it was just like 3 different instances of people showing up. Yeah, it was like, okay, this isn't super helpful. And after I was thinking about it, I was like, okay, it's not too bad. It introduced this other culture. It introduced these group of people that might be important later on. I didn't mind too much because like their whole thing was that they were removed from the politicking and the religious wars that were fought at the time. So I think that was decent. I was just more disappointed in myself that I was like, I introduced these people. I only gave them 2 weeks, and I was like, I don't know. It felt like it was kind of a half-hearted gesture of throwing those people there.
And then the big question that was presented was like, do you trust them? But it's like, we don't know because like there's not been enough evidence to say yes or no.
You've never really had an encounter with these people.
Your neighbors show up and be like,
yeah.
I mean, yeah, I guess Joe. I don't know anything about him other than his name.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's there, and it's the same thing with like Troy introduced this exotic traveler, and
Yeah.
not one time did
I
he
know.
use
I was
or
like,
mention
oh
her.
no one used him at all.
But that's like I would not have known how to use him
It's
on
okay.
the
And that's the
sailor,
thing
'cause
is
it's
like,
I'm not playing an individual.
and the
It's
thing
like,
is, and that was what I was talking to, because he was upset that like he didn't use him first of all, and no one else did. I was like, yeah, but what you don't understand is like, just because we didn't use him doesn't mean he didn't sell things in the community. Like whenever we have like things happen or people come in, just because we do not interact with them, the four of us, does not mean that the community is not interacting with them,
there
right?
could be,
So
like, a fucking
I'm sure
lamp
plenty of
floating around
people
somewhere because they-
were interacting with this trader and buying and selling with him, but just because we did not use him does not like it's like assuming that it's like a form of solipsism. Like just because you're not focused on him doesn't mean he ceases to exist. He was his own person doing his own thing, having his own good time, selling and buying. Just because we were not interacting with him doesn't mean something didn't happen. It just means that while he was here, the onus of the community was not on him to do something. It was more like just general stuff. But I thought
I guess having such a zoomed out perspective kind of helps too, because in the off chance that there's some oversight of something that we thought about, we can clean that up when the
and what I definitely want everyone to be aware of is like it's not gonna be clean. Like there's gonna be when we pull the King of Winter, there's gonna be projects that are cut short. Now that we're in summer, we're gonna have a lot more. It's going to ramp up as seasons go on with, okay, projects are getting cut, projects are getting lengthened, projects are getting maybe shortened, but you have to make like there's a lot more. Like spring is all about figuring out who we are. Summer is, okay, let's focus on the resources we have. Then fall and winter are definitely more, how do we conserve? How do we focus on what's important? Okay, well, we got to shed some projects. We got to shed some discoveries. Like people are going to die. And I think that's definitely, it provides a level of rush, I think, that's helpful, because you're like, oh crap, because spring felt really lackadaisical. Like it felt like we had plenty of time to get all our projects done. We were good on project length, and there was like a few that ran a little bit over, but like there wasn't anything that was really pressing.
That is the two things to me that I think I understand the least about the game. Is number one, the time frames of things, right? So it's like this project takes 6 weeks. Well, what determines if something takes 6 weeks other than we just say it?
You
does?
do.
Like there's no reasonable consequence, right? Like you joked when he'd said that it was going to take 4 weeks to fix his machine, and you were like, oh, okay, because if you'd have said 1, it might not have worked. But like, what establishes, like, if I'm like, I'm going to grow a fucking forest. Well, realistically, a forest would not grow in 6 weeks.
No. Well, and I think that's when you have to take into account like realistic, like realism. Like, okay,
right. Well,
and I think that you have to hold yourself accountable to that. Like when, like what I had said was like when you kind of rush things, okay, maybe it doesn't work out, but you as the player have to decide you're gonna be holding yourself accountable to that. So like you have to have that level of ability to remove yourself, because like I stressed this at the beginning, but there's no winner, there's no loser. So, but I still feel like because it's a game, people might kind of get that mindset of, oh, I need to get my stuff done so I can win. It's like, okay, no. But so when you determine a project length, like you can discuss with other people, but it's generally up to you. Like, how long do you think is feasible? And if you want to regrow a forest, okay, that's really not going to happen. But what you can do is, okay, you can clear some brush away, you can find some seeds, you can fertilize, like you can prep everything, okay, and that takes like 3 weeks, and then time will tell how long it takes for the forest to grow. It might be a few years, but you did the prep work, and so stuff like that is less specific. But for most of it, I think it just depends on what you think is right. Like, and I even said, for like my water project, the reason I was only doing a week was because people hadn't had water except for rain for the first 10 weeks, and we had this aqueduct, and I think people were just like, okay, I want to try it. Like, I'm just going to go stick my hand and drink some water, and someone died. Like, that was like it. When you have these projects that are determinate based on like community issues, I feel like depending on your resources of scarcity and abundance, you can kind of play with them. So you can be like, all right, well, we have an abundance of Emberstone, so I am going to work on a project that brings fuel to houses. So I don't think it'll take as long because I have this abundance of Emberstone, right? But if you wanted to go on like a scouting party into the woods to fight the monsters, okay, that might take longer because we have a scarcity of weapons. Like it is listed right there. We do not have a lot of weapons, and the ones that we currently have are being used by the Watch. So how is your scouting party going to fight these monsters? Okay, well, you're going to have to make the weapons. Okay, well, that's a whole like you've got to really kind of add some thought to it in that extent.
Do you know what I really think would change the hue of this game to feel? Because right now there's a full sense of urgency. Like two things. Number one, the fact that we know that a calamity is coming puts like a weird sense of thought in what we decide to do, right? Because if you're building a community for the sake of just survival,
like SimCity, it's a lot simpler.
Yeah, it's like you establish shelter, establish food, establish warmth, and then you pretty much can get frivolous comforts.
Get some farms, get some energy.
You know what's going, but the fact that you're like, there's a giant calamity coming, and I don't know what it is, but it's gonna kill everyone. It's like, all right, defenses, and it's like it throws everything off.
Yeah.
The other side is that we are, as the players, having to think of the community both as us and as a disjointed thing. Like you have to, it's like two halves of the same brain. You are both the community as a whole, but also the community looking up at the decisions being made.
Yeah.
And I think something that would have made this feel smoother, and this is just from a player standpoint for this, and this is not a critique of the game, just from my own brain.
Okay.
Is if I was not able to handle how the community responds.
Yeah.
Like you were the collective of it, but then it's like, what does this person think about it? And it's like, well, in a perfect world, they're going to love my decision because that's the decision I made. But like, it's hard to go, I've made this decision because I think it's best, and then immediately turn around and be like, but the people fucking hate it.
Yeah. Well, I think that's where
the people.
I think that's where the other players come in with like the contempt tokens and stuff. And I think that as long as everyone's aware of that, it makes it a little bit simpler. But I feel like sometimes people forget that like contempt token doesn't necessarily mean you don't like the idea. It means that members of the community have contempt with this issue.
Right. And that's that disconnect that I feel like, because again, like for instance, it's like if you were not playing and your job was specifically to be the voice of the community. So we're making these decisions as the community collective, but you are the megaphone for the community. Like the characters that you play and speaking, but instead of it being like random Joe Schmo that showed up, like you're like, okay, based off of what I'm hearing from the community leaders, no.
Well, so the issue, so the one thing that the reason they don't have that is that you are in a kind of apocalyptic area, and the assumption is that okay, you're going to have disagreements, you're going to have contempt, but for the most part, the people are going to trust you for this year because they know without a shadow of a doubt something horrible is going to happen. So that's why you don't have that level of like community involvement. Like you've got the discussions you can hold, you've got the issues you can take, but for the most part, it's assumed that your community is going to go along with this up to this year because they know okay, at the end of the year, something shitty's happening.
We're pretty sure that at this point. And again, it's a personal thing because I think it's just like, it's the challenge of having to overcome the problems that the community is reciting to you. Because right now the contempt tokens are, the community has contempt of you, but there's no repercussion to that because nobody's building off of that. Nobody's like, you built a school.
But so the thing,
fuck you, I burned your school down.
The thing about it is though, is like I was saying, in spring it's a little bit easy, but once we get into the colder months or seasons, we're gonna have things that are awry. Like we got a little bit into it with Troy's card of someone tries to attempt people with sin and stuff like that. But there's a lot more. They're not negative or positive cards, but there's a lot more difficult cards coming. Like in regards to how we handle certain things. Like it'll be a lot less because like. With spring, it felt like one was an obvious good option, one was an obvious complicated option. They weren't even really bad.
A lot of us picked a lot of the more complicated options.
Yeah, and they weren't even like bad options or like particularly.
It was two of the same question, but the scale was different.
Yeah, absolutely.
A guy kills 3 people. Who were they? And it was like a guy poisons the water and everyone dies.
It's
the same outcome. It's just how big did you want?
How was the scale affected? And I think that I know that once we get further into the next few weeks, the decisions will become a lot less open-ended and a lot more like, oh shit, we're having to decide some very heady stuff right now, like who lives, who dies.
That you draw that's like one major discovery that you've discovered on the map is destroyed. What is it? And it's like now we have to start fucking with other players' decisions. So like Josh's temple fucking crumbles.
They don't have that with the discoveries. Like they'll have you alter discoveries. They don't have you get rid of them, but they do have times where you have to get rid of projects. You have to decide which projects to cut and which ones to fund, basically, which is interesting because it's like, okay, if I draw this card for Murph's project, sorry Murph, like, but it's not like, it's more like the community decided, not that John decided it. Like it was, and that's what we have to remember is like you don't want to get someone butthurt about it.
You are not playing. Well, you're playing as you, but the idea is that again, if we were playing the game correctly, you were not playing.
Yeah. It's a very meta. It's a very meta game. It's like, oh, you got to think about.
Because that's the opposite so above of what board. You want to be doing is meta
game. In this one, it's all about the meta.
It's just I don't know. It's an interesting perspective. It's different to play something as simple but yet complex as this game is, with just cards and a drawing board.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Like this is not
kind of game. This is literally The Sims but multiplayer.
Yeah, and it's cool. So the game is The Quiet Year by Avery Alder, and it's literally like I bought like the package thing, like it comes with the cards. But if you have a set of playing cards and it's like $8, you can just buy the PDF. And you can just print out the cards that tie themselves to the playing cards because it's literally 52 cards, like 13 or 14 cards a season. All the different suites are the different seasons. So it's like you don't have to buy that, and then you just need D6s to tick down your project dice and some type of token to signify contempt. It's cool because like the game itself, the contempt tokens are little skulls, which is funny, but you can literally just use like a penny or something. So it's not like a super, and then you need like it recommends a white sheet of paper to draw on, but I just use my my D&D like tactical map that I had because it's dry erase and shit like that. It works out pretty well.
Much larger. So
yeah, it's a little bit bigger.
This scale of things is going to be really weird because like we keep going like, what was your discovery? And then we draw a guy that's the same size as the fucking...
Yeah, and that's what I said at the beginning. I was like, don't worry. Like, the scale of the walls and the terrain is important, but like, you know, your discovery on the map is just to signify that something has... It's like, you know, those early maps, like in sort of pre-colonial times when, you know, America was like this big and Europe was like this big. It was more like significance than it was actual geography. Like, this is what they thought.
Killing it out here, Americo Vespucci.
Yeah.
Fucking making it look good.
Yeah, it was, you know, it's not super, it's not a super big issue if you have that sort of thing.
We still don't even know what our sun is, so.
Yeah. Well, I think that,
oh wait, no, we did talk about that.
It's just, you know, it's, and that was what I was trying to talk about was like, there's a level of knowledge that the people have. And I think that I just wanted you guys not to assume that it was some type of ball of gas further in the solar system. Like, okay, it's just literally a ball of fire up in the sky. Like that's what the sun is here, and that's
it's literally revolving around Earth.
Yeah,
like, not us revolving around
exactly. And I think that's like some kind, you know, sort of common knowledge. And I didn't feel like that was something you need to discover. But you know, you're higher up. It's a lot hotter because it's closer to the ball of fire, etc.
Atmosphere and shit like that.
All that good stuff. But yeah, I think it went well, and I'm excited for this Sunday.
Figure out what the fuck that jewel I made was.
Yeah.
I was like, what's the prettiest fucking thing here?
Yeah, some type of shimmering mountain in the distance that activates somehow, and that's okay because like I've set up some things I don't know. Like I'll be honest, there's very little of what's going on that I know is gonna how it's end. I know how it's gonna end. Like it's more fun that way. I like experiencing things on the moment and coming up with things on the fly to some extent. Like I need to plan certain things out, but it's a lot more fun to just go, actually.
I'm curious to see what I can get away with that cloud machine, genuinely, as
a
player. Like, I'm not trying to like big fucking brain it, but like I have some ideas that like could play into it. I don't know. I just, you know, thinking about stuff.
Yeah, it'll be fun, and I'm looking forward to this Sunday. Anyway,
we're doing 3 to 7, right? Like same as last time.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say, we don't have any plans. So if y'all wanted to do earlier and get out earlier, I don't care.
Fine with me. I mean, I'm off Monday.
Okay, so. Gotcha. Yeah, I work. So I'll post it in the group and see what everyone agrees on, and we can figure it out.
And we're doing the same thing as last time. Just bring your own food and call it.
Yeah. I'll put like a group and see what everyone wants to do, just to kind of get a consensus, because I don't want anyone to feel like they need to bring food. You know, the group dynamic is weird.
Yeah, well, again, I ate last time, so I threw that fucking thing right out the window.
No, you're good. I even said, like, before you came, like, you should probably eat because I don't have food.
I just got caught up doing chores, so that was my bad.
You're good. Anywho, but I'm enjoying it. I'm excited. I'm really excited to get into D&D though. Like I'm enjoying this, but I am like chomping at the bit to get into world building and character creation. And it's going to be nice because like I'm going to need some time after the quiet year is over to generate, like sort of generate the world. And I've got some ideas kind of already on the back burner just based on how things are going, but it'll be nice to have like, because the way I'm imagining it is we'll finish it and either that session we ended on or the next one will be our session 0 of like creating characters and learning the rules. Because I mean, y'all are gonna have to learn how to play D&D, which is like not a small task, but it's not super complicated. Like it's more of a learn as you go type deal as I call for checks and things.
Does Josh have more experience? Is it you, Josh,
no.
me, Troy, or is it?
No, I think it's honestly me, Troy, you, Josh. He's played it once. You've played it a couple times, and Troy's played like 4 or 5 times. Troy's never finished one though, so that was his thing.
No, he had that much experience.
Well, he also, one of his campaigns he played was like the guy wanted to play first edition, so he had like all the classic stuff. So, and it's also been a while. But yeah, he's played a few campaigns. But then it's been a while, so I'm basically just counting everyone at the same knowledge level of not knowing anything.
Familiar enough to know that if you said word like, I don't know,
a D20, you know what that is.
I know what it is.
Yeah, exactly. When I say fireball, it is a spell.
It's a ball of fire.
Yes. But I'm really excited to get into that. So like we'll have that session 0, and then that'll give me like an extra week to plan how the story's gonna go and how the plot's gonna thicken and stuff like that. I haven't really decided on a theme yet because I'm kind of waiting to see how things go. I'll be 100% honest. I told Troy this. I don't maybe I shouldn't. I don't know. If I tell you this, you can't use it to overthink. If I tell you this, you cannot use it to overthink.
Well, then just don't tell me.
You want me to not tell you? You want me to save it? Okay, never mind.
The thing is, it's just like I'm interested as a player in both the Quiet Year and in D&D to see how the environment that we've created even plays into a story. Because what I was expecting, genuinely, when we started, is that we were doing the continent map.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking over the entirety of the continent based off of, like, not necessarily just one community, but multiple. So, like, at some point we'd draw a card and it would say, like, the kingdom furthest to the east now attacks the kingdom closest to the center.
Yeah.
What is the outcome? And, like, we would be doing, like, the terraforming of it. And then when you were like, no, it's like...
It's a community. It's
right
a single
here.
community.
Like,
it's one thing.
Oh.
Yeah. I didn't want to give you guys that much freedom, to be fair. Like, I still wanted to have some type of creative control over the world. 2, I haven't yet decided what the world's going to look like. And if it's even going to be adventurable at that point. So I wanted to start with something because like the city itself, by the time we're done, I feel like is going to be pretty big. Like it's going to be a pretty massive thing. Yeah.
It keeps up with what it's doing. It's a shanty town.
Well, I don't know. Like it's pretty big. We've dug further into the back of the mountain. We've got like a little
built any new shelters. We've literally just fixed some of the ones.
But I think that the projects are there and they're getting going, and I think that's fine.
It's gonna happen. But the issue is as you said, we're gonna start nailing into some of the harder choices.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of the expected prep work just didn't happen until midsummer.
I don't know. The few things that I've seen of people playing this, it really doesn't matter how prepared you are. Like, because you're still gonna end up where you're at. Well, yeah. Well, not even screwed, but like at the end of the day, you're still gonna go through the same amount of events and the same amount of turns. So it's like, okay, if no one built shelter, and like here's the like, and I'm not a harsh DM. So like, let's say we went the entire 52 weeks and no one built shelter, right? So I wouldn't let that happen. Like as I started the project, but let's say somehow it happened. Okay, well then your D&D campaign takes place 50 years after this is over, whatever. Someone in those 50 years will have built shelter. Like, it might not be where you'd like.
Full functioning government, yet no one has a place to live.
It won't be like grand opulent shelters where like everyone's got a place to stay. It'll certainly be a lot less than what it would have been if we had started shelter earlier. But I'm going to take all of this into account because I'm definitely. There is 100% going to be a time buffer between the end of this and the start of the campaign, because I don't want to place y'all directly into the world that you just finished building because with time cures a multitude of ills. So anything that doesn't get done or that I want to get done at the end of it, if I add on, a couple decades, it will allow for things to have changed. And it also allows for society to come to a point where something is regular, as opposed to irregular. So like at the end of the campaign,
Brand new.
everything's going to be weird. Everything's going to be weird. There's this thing that will have happened at the end of the year. No one's quite sure what it is. But if you give it another 50 years, people will have gotten used to it. It becomes habit. It becomes a thing. And then maybe some of y'all's characters were in the original group. Maybe were born here. Like you don't know. Like, but I want to have that option of, okay, there's been some time now. How does the world look? How does society respond to this amount of time? Like what has happened? And then that will give me the impetus to figure that out, as opposed to just assuming that how it ends is what we start with, which is I don't know, because like I said, there's going to be things that don't get done, and I don't want to punish the players in this campaign for the fact that when the calamity struck, no one had any type of plan for protecting against meteors, and the whole city's on fire. I don't want you guys to start the very next day when everything's on fire.
Congratulations. Your 4 orphan children.
Yeah.
And go.
Surprise. Okay, but maybe after 50 years they've come up with a system of how to deflect these meteors. Blah 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 blah. That's not what it is. It's not meteors.
No, that's fine.
But so that time cushion will allow for a certain amount of subjectivity that I prefer when I start a campaign. But yeah, I think it'll be good. That was kind of the only thing I wanted to talk about. Did you have anything? Like I didn't come with anything.
No, it's fine. We've been kind of mildly ill-prepared for this for the last couple of sessions.
Yeah.
And only because things have been going on,
Yeah.
I've started this job now and coming back into it. We've got wedding planning, which I don't know if it's not like you know Kim, but it's not like you spend as much time with her as I do. But in the few instances,
that would be weird.
In the moments between when we're doing a specific thing, like playing a game together, you've gotten to see her, and she is a warrior, and she's a stressful person.
Yeah.
She works under it. She thrives under pressure, but it gets to her. And
oh yeah, definitely.
She has been at odds with things with this wedding planning, and we've only been engaged for like less than a month.
Yeah.
And it's already almost like the entirety of the world is ending. So
that's okay. This is
a
wedding is an interesting thing. I don't know. I have a weird anti-establishment mentality where it's like I don't understand ceremonies. Like I don't get funerals, I don't get weddings, I don't get baby shower, like any of these like societal instances. Like I like a wedding in regards to it is a time to celebrate two people coming together and doing wonderful things.
Sense, but like that's actual.
Not even that, but like I feel like a lot of, and this is not just like I'm not speaking to Kimmy. She's obviously not a part of this, but like I feel like most of the weddings I've seen have just been self-induced panic attacks. Like my sister's wedding, like she wanted all this stuff done, she had to have, and I was like, oh my God, Noelle, you're literally like creating this area for which your life is going to be super stressed out, and the day of the wedding is so crazy. I really doubt most people remember 100% of their wedding day, and yet they spent probably up to a year, maybe more, planning it. And I feel like it's dangerous to fall into this trap of it's the most special day, like blah 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 blah.
Well, again, that's one of those like societal pressures to make it the most special day. Because like again, I talked to my grandparents, and again, most of these ceremonies are all based in religious background anyway, for some reason. So or religious.
Well, you can't get married unless God says so.
What is it? It's religious. When they co-op it from something, so they've co-opted from a non-religious practice.
Well, marriage was always like before. I don't want to talk out of my ass, but marriage was kind of always like either a religion or a state thing, and then with how things are now, it's kind of joined with both. Like you can have a purely judicial marriage, and just have
go to a courthouse and get the paperwork done and go home.
But it's become so entrenched in a religious attitude.
Society, and okay, so do you know the comedian Jim Gaffigan?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so he has one of my favorite bits about marriage in general, and he was just like, I don't understand where, as people, we decided that a wedding, like in total, had to become just total bullshit. And the idea that like how we present ourselves in a wedding, they're like, because every girl has to dress up like a princess, and they're getting married, and we're joining two kingdoms, so we can spend $900 on a cake, because that's what the king. And it's like, when did it just go from a thing where like two people who really cared about each other had to stand before a judge, and then if you wanted a preacher involved for your religious connotation, you do that. Your family was there, you called it a day. Why do I have to buy a $5,000 limousine to drive 8 feet from literally one door to another door for the photo? Like, what do we remember?
It's the same reason you've got to spend $10,000 on a coffin at this point. It's
that's ridiculous.
It's a societal structure that we have created out of a need to make money off of something. You have people whose whole jobs in their entire lives are to plan weddings. They plan one day out of your entire life, and they make killer off of it, and they do great job. Like, I'm not disparaging people who plan weddings. I'm just saying, like, we have created a business infrastructure. Yeah, a market.
We've created the market, the need, and the demand all at the same time.
And I think that, I mean, it's like the same with funerals. It's the same with baby showers. Like, these are all events that we invented and then said we had to have. And then we said we had to have a certain amount of money invested into it. It's like, okay, why? Why do you need to bury people?
Measuring contests of people because, like, you know, the moment. So again, it got made infinitely worse when social media started because then people, you know,
start comparing.
A generation of people who have to compare what they're doing to other people.
Yeah.
And again, I love Kim to death, and she's gonna hate me for this. She's one of them. She is one of them. When two of our
Kimmy, if you're listening to this, I'm not agreeing with him. I don't want to.
Well, you might if you hear.
I don't want to risk the wrath of what's her character's name?
Friends. Oh, Bertha.
Bertha. I don't want to risk the wrath of Bertha. I really
another
don't.
rock to the head. No, so she had two friends get engaged a week before we did, and
to each other.
Their business. Yes, those two people got married or engaged to each other, and the thing is that one of those two parties has been married before. So this is not their first rodeo with this instance. And so they already had a lot of things pre-planned because this was a decision that was made between the two of them over a long period of time.
Yeah.
So they already had a venue in mind. They already had caterers. They already had DJs. Kim's never had that. You know, she's never had to be in this situation before. This is all new. You know, and her family's more involved because that's a cultural thing for her. And it's like, she's looking at these two who are also older than us, like have their life together in this sense, and like we're still trying to figure out like how we fit together as a group.
Yeah.
And it's just like it's stressing her out because she's like, well, they've already done X, Y, and Z. My friend just got married. Look at this Instagram post. Look at this dress. She spent $15,000, and it's like,
I think that
why are we comparing ourselves
when it comes to these events, these days, like, you know, your birthday, your anniversary, like on a smaller scale, those, but like your wedding, your funeral, your baby showers, your event days, your graduation, it really only matters in that how it means to you, like what it means to you, like if the wedding that you want and the wedding that will mean the most to you is literally just going to the courthouse, signing a paper, and then going to, you know, Cozumel for a week on a honeymoon, like that is literally all that matters then. Like, I think that when you have those special days, it's really just for you. Like, and I feel like a lot of people will disagree and say, no, it's for family and stuff. But like in my mind, if I'm getting married, if I'm dying, if I'm having a child, if I'm having a birthday, like it's for me and the people I care about. Like, I don't really care so much about how people perceive that day, unless, you know, it's like if it's objectively horrible and, you know, there's like dead rats at the venue. Okay, great. Okay, we should probably not have that. But, you know, it's such a personal, it's like a pizza. It's a personal choice that really only affects you. And like, yes, because of how it's in America, like you've got the whole, the parents of the bride pay for, I think, most of everything, and the parents of the groom pay for like the reception. And it's like, okay, well, money's involved. Okay, it gets a little bit weird and all that other stuff. But, you know, it's a day for you to celebrate the person you're going to be spending the rest of your life with in front of other people. And it's like, okay, this is to signify I love this person I want to spend the rest of my life with. And there is something like special about that, where you have that sort of oath you take in front of all these people saying, I will love you forever, I will be with you forever, blah, 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 you know, come hell or high water. And I think that's special to an extent, but I do think that a lot of people get super, super, I guess, into the planning of it, and they kind of get bogged down, and I don't know, like
it's the status of it.
Yeah.
It's like anything, right? It's like when you go to buy a new car, instead of just buying a car you want, you're starting to look at what your neighbor has and what your business coworkers have and what people think that you should have and what your parents talk to you about. And instead of buying the car that fits your needs, makes you comfortable, and that you enjoy. And
I understand the pressure, like, because there's only really, hopefully, I mean, like, obviously, if you get married to someone you're not a good match with and you get married, that's fine. But like, this is one of those things where there's really, on average, only one of these in your lifetime. You know, there's only one funeral you have. There's only really one wedding. You might have two, depending. You know, but this is like the one.
Not even for me. That's
exactly. But you know, but like
you're not.
You have the one wedding of your life, so it is one day and it's only the only time you'll have this event in your life. So like I get the pressure
Say that,
to
but then
perform.
they invented a new thing called renewing your vows, where you
Oh,
have
that's
a
true.
completely
Yeah.
brand new ceremony. So, okay, I
never
believe
understood
in the
that.
same thing that you're saying, and I feel the same way about uncandid photos. Unprompted, or like, yeah, like unneeded photos in a thing where like they're like, oh, we're having a team group luncheon, everyone
Yeah.
get together and take a photo. Why? If you caught a photo of a bunch of coworkers together enjoying each other's company for real,
Mhm.
like actually like in a moment doing something,
Yeah.
and you hand them that photo, they'll look at that and go, I will remember how I felt in this moment seeing it for the rest of my life. Wedding photos, and I get so on my soapbox about this, are the most awkward, unnatural, and unmemorable things I've ever seen. Especially like pregnancy photos and like
Where like
engagement
the
photos.
man is holding the wife's belly, and they're like, look
Yeah,
at this
and then like the woman's
thing.
in lingerie for some reason.
Look at
and
this.
It's like, why am I
Look
trying
at
to
this
sexualize the
xenomorph
fact
we're
that this
cooking in my
woman's
wife's belly. It's going to
like,
burst
I
out
didn't
of her
pull
chest.
Woo! Like,
So, but okay, but
it's-
that's so. I'm not gonna delve too much into relationship advice, but there are certain things that, like, if your partner's into, you just say, okay, you just go,
right, but like,
okay.
but it's like my mother ruined it for me when I was a kid, and God love my mother, she's still around, but like she still does this. My mother was the kind of person that we would be driving into a state we've been to, let's say Georgia.
You gotta get a
driving
picture.
into it, and she would like fucking 3 a.m. just pull the car
Yeah.
over to the side of the road, wake us all up. We all look like shit. We're all
But-
tired. We're sick. We don't like this. Make us stand into the "Welcome to Georgia" sign and take a photo, and then be mad that we weren't having a good time.
Okay,
It's
but
like,
Murph, and I don't know any of the people involved in this, but that's probably very special to your mom. Like, she probably still has those pictures and goes,
yeah, but like,
look at this time I pulled Murph out of the car at 2 a.m. in
She
front of
got
this
one of us,
shitty
and if I
sign,
find the
and his
photo,
hair
I'll show it
sticking
to you.
straight up, and his pants are like around his ankles because he was definitely peeing at the time I pulled him out of the rest area.
She got us once. We were in Florida, and we had been at the beach all day. And the
Yeah.
beach trip was fine, but we were sunburned to the point of sun poisoning.
Mm-hmm.
So we were miserable. We hadn't eaten. We were dehydrated. We looked like actual shit.
Yeah.
And my mother goes, what about McDonald's since we're on the way home? And all of us are like, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
right? Like, this will jumpstart us back into feeling better. So we're in a relatively good mood. My mother took us to McDonald's, set us next to Ronald McDonald, absolutely miserable, took our photo, and then got us back in the car, and we left. And we never stopped.
But
and got any food or
okay.
anything. That's all she did that for. Was that
But
dumbass?
but okay, but Murph, one, now you have a very vivid memory with your mom, and two, she got her pick. Like I
Yeah,
get it.
but
There are
again,
things
like-
that parents do and people in your life do that are like, why the fuck? But in the end, it's like you can look back at that and go, you know what? My mom probably just really wanted to remember these times because like my parents were the same way. Like growing up, they were like all about pictures, and I don't like me. I don't want pictures of me taken. I don't want pictures of me exist. Like I am not a picture person. If I like. I'll like if we go on a trip, I'll take like maybe a picture or two, but it won't be of me. It'll just be of something so that I'll remember the trip. But for my parents, like we have a whole album. Like for my 18th birthday, my mom gave me a photo album of like all these photos throughout my life, and I was like, I am so glad this means something to you. And that's because like to me, literally, it didn't mean anything because like it meant more to me the fact that she had put the work into this than it
like
did that I
proud.
had these
Yeah.
pictures. Like I would not look at these pictures ever, but I would always go, man, my mom spent a lot of time making this photo album for
but
me.
see,
That's
but
really
that's
awesome.
the same thing that can be said with like, you know, like I still kick myself for this. My grandmother spent a lot of time making my graduation cake,
Mm-hmm.
and that was like the year after I had sworn off sweets, so I never touched any of it the whole time. And she
Oh.
asked if I would eat some, and I said no, I don't eat cake.
Oh.
And to this day, it still bothers me. She didn't die; she's still around. But it
Well,
still
never make the
bothers me
cake,
that I didn't
Murph.
take I haven't. It's and I'll.
Granny, you remember that time I was a dick to you about that cake?
Yeah, no, I really was, and it wasn't. I wasn't thinking because when you're a kid, you don't think
Exactly,
about
and that's the
what
thing
that
is
does
like
to other people.
you
And
lack
again, that's why I
perspective
take
as a
the
child.
Photos and stuff, right?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing even now. Like when Kim asked me to take a photo, I will
Yeah.
do my best to take the photo. But the thing is, it's like if you asked me, if you came up to me personally and was like, "What?" Like the wedding photographer, right? Is like, "What photos do you want taken of the guys?"
Yeah.
I don't want to do that weird us three stand in a line.
Yeah.
No,
But, Murph,
just
I
be like,
think-
walk around. If you see something that looks like something worth taking a photo of,
Yeah.
do it. But don't ask us to pose.
Mhm.
Or her friend Anne has this fantastic photographer at their wedding,
Mhm.
and all these photos are fantastic. But like, again, because I overthink things, the context of the photos make no sense. It's like three people awkwardly standing outside, and they're all like looking at each other and laughing. And it's like,
this is one of those things though, where it's
like that when they're laughing.
in the relationship, you kind of just like the way I think about it is there are things that I have to have, and there are things that I cannot have, and then the rest is just whatever the person I'm in a relationship with prefers. Like I have to have a certain level of comfort. I have to have a certain level of alone time. I have to have a certain level of touch. And there's some things I can't have. I cannot have like emotional manipulation. Like, and then the rest is just chips. It's like I don't really care. Like if my partner wants to play a board game for 6 hours and beat my ass, okay, great. If they want to play a video game I'm not particularly fond of, like if they ask me if I want to play it, I'm not gonna lie and say yes, but I will say that I like spending the time with them. So it's like, okay, I like, you know, if
give and take, it's compromise, which is all relationship,
and not even like compromise. I just like I get asked this all the time. He asks me this all the time, like my opinion on things. I just have such a low level of caring about most shit. Like, what do you want for dinner? What game do you want to play? What show do you want to watch? Like, I legitimately don't care as long as it's with you. Like, I really just don't give a shit. It's like, it's chips. It's things that don't matter that are on the side that are like, I've already got the important bits.
It's not like it's not
like,
the main
okay,
course,
it's
man,
like if you ask me if I want something I hate, I'll tell you no. I don't like kale. I really don't want to eat kale. Okay, I really
that's true, but I
really
like
don't want to eat Burger King. No offense, I don't want to eat Burger King. Like I'm just not a fan of that. You know, but for the most part, it's like, okay, I've got the things I need. I've got you in my life. We have an understanding of how this relationship works. We have an understanding of what we will do for each other. So who the fuck cares if you want me to sit in a doctor's office appointment with you because you don't want to go on your own? Who the fuck cares if you want me to take you to get your car fixed at 8 a.m. on my day? Like, I just don't get, like, it's those things. And then you extrapolate that out to, okay, if you really want this, like, okay, you want photos. Okay. Oh, well, like,
Right. And again, I completely understand because it's similar to what I've said. It's just, again, if we're talking personal preference,
yeah, definitely.
And the understanding of why we do something, that's the part that I'm like,
absolutely.
Okay, well, I do it not because I think it makes sense or that it's natural. I do it because this is what she was told she should want, and this is now what she wants, and I will do it for that person.
That's just what you're going to do.
But like I just, again, like I wish that there was like a compilation of just photos that aren't cringy. They're not inherently cringy, but it's just like it's like a slideshow, and I'd show it to you and just go explain what you see, and you're like, I can't because
I don't know, I wasn't there. But I think
why the fuck is this a photo?
I think the photos are more so for you guys, and I'm guessing more so for Kimmy than for you.
And family members who care and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because it's like, there's always going to be family that wants to see these photos. And,
absolutely.
And everyone draws from their own experiences when they see someone else's experiences. And especially when, like if you ever have children or I ever have children, it's like one of those things where it's like, people do it all the time. The parents are like, I don't want my child to get bullied because I didn't have a cell phone when I was 12, so I got to get my kid a cell phone.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. It's like, my wedding didn't have X, Y, and Z, so we got to make sure that their wedding has X, Y, and Z. It's like, we don't care.
It becomes a thing.
If we went to a brewery, got smashed, and passed out in the backseat of a truck, that could be our wedding, genuinely, because that's just who we are as people. But because there is the expectation, because there is the want, because there is the genuine care that most people have, because they're not trying to be assholes about it. There are these things that you give and take and compromise to, and then also accept.
See, I got lucky in that regards. Like, I don't think either of our families give a shit, and I know we both don't give a shit. So if it ever happens, it's going to be like something very small, something
completely dynamic, different.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Although we're all in the guy side, and that helps because no dad is sitting around like, I can't wait for my son to get married so that we can have this giant gown that he can sit in.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like, none of that's going on. But like, again, it's a very old school mindset for like genderism. But like, a lot of young girls are told their whole life like this is the greatest day that they will ever experience outside of having a child. Which,
and
again, old school.
Also, like, I don't know. Like, I feel like, have you had a child? Have you heard the screaming? Like,
but again, there's so many people I know that I genuinely like military-wise served with that they were like, I'll never have kids. The idea of a kid literally like curdles my blood, and now they're happy parents, and they're like, I don't know, man. It's just like
time
when
changes.
It happened, it made sense. And again, more power to him. I've got a friend of mine that I've mentioned to you before, Brandon. Brandon fucking hates children. Like if all children died and that was the end of the human race,
Yeah.
man, okay, whatever. That's just how it is. And I get it, because it's not for everybody. It pisses me off when children are in inappropriate places and then they're themselves. That's not the kid's fault. That's the parents' fault for bringing that child to that location.
Yeah.
But we've talked about this. We talked about
We
that.
definitely did this on our first or
Forever
second
ago.
episode where you said, "Fuck them kids." Leave the baby. I think it was leave the baby in the hot car. Is what you specifically
No.
said.
It was. We were talking about the box that you can donate your. Baby
Oh
to,
yeah,
and
it
then
got
was
really
just like-
maudlin.
But it was like the idea that they couldn't
Yeah.
like there was no immediate like release for the child to go. They were just like, no, there's a metal box outside, and the son just.
That's just where you throw them out. We're not gonna rehash this. I do not
is a good
want.
waste
We
man.
we have more viewers on average now than we did back then in these 10 episodes since. So we cannot bring this back up because we will get.
We are at 9 followers, which I know isn't much, but that's still more than I thought we'd have considering.
It's not. Oh, I can't lift my arms that high. It's 9 more than what we had. So it's fine.
True.
Any
And
progress
that's
is
happened.
progress.
I mean, we've only been around for like what, 2 months?
Yeah,
Maybe-
and
no, every other Wednesday. Yeah, just
we've
about.
definitely gotten a lot better with consistency, which is great.
Well,
A lot better with the weekly.
consistently in terms of
Okay,
it's happening
consistently,
once a week,
it's what
not
happening
the
once a
same
week.
day.
But we're generally Wednesday or Thursday. That's generally where we stick between Wednesday
That's
or
fine.
Thursday, and I think that's fine. We also
It will, just for your own knowledge, because I'll just put it out into the universe. As of October, it's like one of the busiest months for me.
okay.
So it will have to hard be Wednesday or Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. Like Thursdays and Tuesdays are about to be booked.
I like I said, it's the busiest day of the week. We can only do it potentially 4 days of the week.
Well, I'm saying like because we typically have like either direction. We can go Monday through Sunday.
I don't
Like,
care. I generally,
Tuesdays are- yeah.
unless something is going on, I always get off by 5. Or if I don't, it's like one day of the week where I don't. It's never working consistently after 5.
I completely get that.
So yeah, it's fine. Anyway, I think we're gonna call it. We're at an hour and
It's
10.
8:30. Go get something to eat now, and then
I think we're gonna
that
go
was
to the
fun.
gym.
I enjoyed getting to talk about it. And
This
kinda
was
rehash.
good. This was a little bit like I don't know. I like halfway through us talking about our campaign, I was like, should we explain? But we explained a lot of it last week. If you want to know more about the Quiet Year, like
you can
we
share.
discussed it in detail last week. We had some questions too last
We'll
week.
probably
which was cool.
continue to update.
Yeah, just kind of like
show
general
as we-
vagaries
yeah.
of how things are going on. I don't want to get too specific because then it feels like we're doing a let's play basically. But check us out on YouTube. We've got our videos up there if you want to hear random bullshit. We are a nerd podcast. We generally try to talk about board games and stuff, but sometimes I think we just spent 40 minutes talking about weddings, which was kind of fine.
I mean, but it's topical to us. I mean,
yeah,
we talk about
and-
okay. Let's say it. We talk about the things that interest us, and we talk
Oh,
about
yeah.
our lives.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
that's the thing. It's not the tangents aren't just for the sake of tangenting.
It's like literally things going
related
on.
to something going on.
Somebody's getting married in Murph's life, and that's cool.
Yeah.
It's him. But yeah, if you have questions, email them, tweet us, watch our YouTube shows. Murph
the new-
streams like Tuesdays and Thursdays,
Tuesdays and
which is pretty dope. I am not streaming because I am busy, but realistically, I'm running 2 D&D campaigns,
Yeah, well, you
writing
said
and
that-
playing The Witcher. So there's
I was gonna
not
say,
a
didn't
lot.
You said you were gonna play.
I
either-
did.
what did
So
you
I
do?
did, but I didn't
Dragon
stream
Age
it.
or you
I
didn't
played-
stream it. I was like looking forward.
You
to
were
it.
like, I want to see you stream it. I was like, I will. And then I started playing it. I was like, I can't stream this. I can't. Like I played The Witcher 1. I played it all the way through. And then I just beat The Witcher 2 a couple days ago. I couldn't have streamed it. It was like I had to keep going in and changing. Like the bugs were kind of bad. The graphics were kind of bad. I liked it. Like The Witcher 1 was excellent. Like it was.
It's fun. Did
it was
you do
really
the
good.
Update or did you play it completely vanilla?
I just played the director's cut enhanced edition. Blah
Okay, 'cause
blah
I
blah
did
blah
the,
blah blah
what
blah
is
blah.
it? Something of the White Wolf. Pack
Yeah,
that you could download.
it had already bugs like in the vanilla version, and I just didn't want to chance having like a corrupted save with any mods or shit like that. So I was like, if I want to come back with mods, I will. But for my first playthrough, I was like,
it is
let me.
genuinely a fantastic
Yeah.
time. The only real differences that I remember that mod pack did is that it changed Geralt's look
Mm-hmm.
because there was a design change. It modifies key features of him to make it more cohesive with the second game than just like different person completely. Like
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
there you go. So
Yeah.
there's some other tweet, but we'll get into that later. Okay,
Yeah.
so I do have a request then, and I'm gonna put it out so that people have to hear it. So
Okay.
you stopped playing Skyrim completely.
I
That just died.
did. I did. I
And
did.
then So that ended, and there's not even a VOD I can go back and
There's
watch.
not.
And then you decided not to stream The Witcher, and now you're already in Witcher 2. Will you?
I'm in The
stream-
Witcher 3.
Right. Yeah. So will you please stream Dragon Age Origins?
Murph, I will probably stream a Dragon Age. I don't think it'll be Origins. I played.
We all know
I
that is
played
the best story of all three.
Okay, I agree in terms of like yes, like okay, yes, but in regards to playing it, I literally played every single class, every single race combination in that game when it came out. I put probably close to 500 hours into it. Like I know every single quest line, I know every single storyline, I know every single like origin story
line
and all the
Sir, what's his name?
yeah, and it's like I maybe at some point, but like that was a game I completely burnt myself out on when it came out, and it was like.
It would be more interesting to see you less play it as a let's play and more as like a commentary, like things that you like, things that you didn't like, things that you remember playing at and being like, I don't understand why the narrative went this way, or because like,
why did the dogs look like this? They really look bad.
And then like, why is the dog a separate companion? Like, why is the dog an individual companion and not like a side thing? Considering he has like 2 moves.
It's not
the
very
fact
good.
that like, why did the Qunari change between Dragon Age Origins and 2? Like, we don't.
Yeah.
There's so much stuff going on. But again, like I would love to hear your opinions on it. Even if it was just a synopsis of the game, like not actually play it. But
yeah.
That would so that's the big thing.
We'll see.
But that's as much as I got. I know that I will admit to you, and it's disgusting to say, I've only ever played one storyline in that entire game.
Wow, you're missing out on so much.
I've played the game like 6 times, but I've only ever played one storyline.
There's so much that you're missing out on.
I do the same thing, like I'm that generic human fighter that everyone hates to campaign with.
Okay.
They're like,
There's nothing wrong
why do you
with
pick the most boring shit? And it's
That's
because
not
it's
boring.
what I relate to. Like,
Yeah.
it may not be me, but I can think better when I understand the thing I'm playing.
Yeah, I agree.
And I'm always a human noble, and I'm just like, all right, cool, let's
Easy
go, let's
peasy.
fuck shit up.
Anyway, thank you for watching. Thank you for participating in this fun
Thank you for putting up
times.
with my bullshit.
Yeah. Next week we will be discussing something. I will have a topic we can talk about.
It'll be the last of September. We're
Yeah.
already at the end of September.
The
That's
year's
crazy.
gone. It's crazy.
It's almost 23. We literally have 3 months until 23.
I know.
What the fuck?
We should be good for Wednesday. It might be Thursday. Who knows? We will try to keep it within the bounds of that. Thanks for watching. Thanks for chilling. I've been John. That's been Murph. And Murph, I've been thinking all of the last 30 seconds about like a catchphrase to end it on, and I think it's gonna be. Hold on. I'm gonna.
I thought the most like generic like kids TV show ending of all time in that 5 seconds you asked.
No. Hold on. I'm really thinking hard on this, Murph. I'm really putting like 100% of my brain, but my capacity is limited to like 40. Oh God, it's like when someone asks you your favorite book and you forget everything you've ever read.
What's your favorite color? Turnip.
What's a color? Yeah, I don't even know. On that note, we're just gonna say good night, good luck,
Right, no, I've got one for you.
and
I've got one for
Godspeed,
you.
numbnuts.
Every night, every time we end,
Okay.
we'll swap. And
Okay.
you just go, what's in the dungeon? And then the other person has to say the first thing that pops into their head.
Okay.
And that way it's unique every time. So you
Okay.
start, I'll say
Okay.
something, and the next week I ask.
All
you
right.
to
So
say
let's start it. Okay. I've been John. That's been Murph. And Murph, what's in the dungeon?
a 40-foot caterpillar that reads Spanish.
Okay. Have a great night, everyone.